For centuries, life in the South Pacific nation of Vanuatu has remained largely unchanged. Outside of the capital, Port Vila, the population mainly lives in rural communities. Traditionally, women stay at home and look after the family, whilst the men work the land. Most people will not have the opportunity to venture further than their home island. However, since 2004, a small group of women have been plotting a route from the archipelago to the greatest show on Earth.
My dream is to keep training hard so that I can take part in the 2016 Olympics in Rio and also in other events around the world. It would make us proud, and all of Vanuatu, if our beach volleyball team could be the first to go to the Olympics in 2016.
Lynlyn Mansale is a member of the Vanuatu women's beach volleyball squad, who are looking to become the first to represent the country in the Olympics. Established 10 years ago by Debbie MASAUVAKALO, the team played their first World Tour event in 2009. Last year in Poland, HENRIETTE IATIKA and ELWIN became the first women's team outside of Australia and New Zealand to represent a South Pacific nation at the World Championships. The pair finished the 4018 tournament in a highly creditable 9th place, losing in the last 16 to the eventual gold medalists, China. Reaching this level has been a challenging experience for Vanuatu's highest profile athletes.
Being women, we've had to face cultural difficulties. Traditionally, their costume is a Mother Hubbard dress. So taking them from out of the Mother Hubbard dress into a bikini, that's a bit of a journey in itself. Obviously in Vanuatu, they don't have to train in a bikini because it's not culturally appropriate, but when they're overseas, they're playing in a bikini. So it has been a shock to their system. The girls have been able to help to change the way women are perceived in Vanuatu, and that's been one of our goals, and to empower them, for them to be role models for other kids to follow.
In Vanuatu, it's not easy for women to go out on their own or to do anything without our family. But I'm really happy because, thankfully, my family were very understanding. They've allowed me to go out so that I can play volleyball, and I've been able to represent the Vanuatu women's team.
The national squad, consisting of IATIKA, Mansale, ELWIN and Joyce Joshua, initially played together in 2006 and made their first overseas trip a year later. When they joined the World Tour in 2009 as one of the smallest and least experienced nations, it was a steep learning curve. But they were still able to enjoy their new lifestyle on the road.
The first time that we competed on the World Tour, a lot of the other teams, didn't even know where Vanuatu was. And they kept asking us, where is Vanuatu? And we kept having to explain where we were on the map.
We were a bit intimidated, especially when we looked at some of the other countries like the USA, Brazil, and other big countries from around the world, and saw how well they were performing. We were really wary the first time, but slowly, as we played more and more, we started to feel that we belonged on the tour, that we were good enough to compete with everyone else.
Like many of the world's small and developing nations, the lack of funds poses a major obstacle to the team's progression. There's only enough money to employ head coach, former New Zealand international Jason Lockhead, for a few weeks a year. Most of their income comes from overseas aid and prize money. To maintain their world ranking and stand a chance of qualifying for the Olympics, the team must compete in a certain number of World Tour events. However, as an island nation, just traveling to competitions can be a challenge.
We're a small nation, we've got limited resources. Our biggest cost is airfares. To get anywhere is a couple of $1,000 US in airfares. So anytime we travel, you're looking at $10,000 just to get off the island. So it's a big cost.
Spending so much time away from home can be an emotional struggle as well as a financial one. When the girls have been able to travel, they've all had to leave their children and families behind.
It's been difficult for me because I spend a lot of my time at training. And then, when I go overseas, I find it hard because my daughter has to stay at home with the family. So every time I go abroad, I miss her a lot.
Originally set up as just a women's programme, there is now also a men's squad in Vanuatu. However, they have yet to reach the standard set by their female counterparts. Currently, the men only compete at regional level and are still to make their debut on the World Tour. But their speed and power makes them useful training partners for the women.
The girls have grown up with the boys. The boys have been smashing the ball at the girls constantly, so I guess they have to harden up like a little sister has to harden up to her big brother.
Since returning from the World Championships, the girls and the sport have had a lot more publicity, and there's been an influx of juniors coming to try it out. Twice a week, Vanuatu Volleyball run open sessions for local school children. BANGALULU is one of a number of coaches who are trying to identify the next generation of international players.
We are encouraging the juniors, especially the girls, to come along so that they can develop their skills. We encourage them by saying that one day they could play for the national team, because the seniors can't go on playing forever. If the girls keep practicing, at some point the senior girls will retire and the juniors will get their chance. So we tell them to keep coming to training and improving their game, and in the future they may make it into the senior team.
Vanuatu is also encouraging young girls and women to become more involved in sport generally. Like many Pacific nations, there are a number of health issues, such as diabetes and obesity, resulting from a poor diet combined with a lack of exercise. As part of this initiative, the beach volleyball team are actively involved in encouraging women from rural communities to take up the sport.
We've been out to the villages to talk to the women. We tell them about beach volleyball, that the sport is open and accessible to them as well. We tell them, you can come down and enjoy beach volleyball with us.
Vanuatu's women's team has come a long way over the past few years. Having overcome the disappointment of missing out on qualification for the London Olympics, they finished 9th at last year's World Championships, making them the most successful sports team the country has ever produced. And with recent tournament wins in Thailand and Hong Kong, they've once again put themselves in a strong position to make their Olympic debut in Rio 2016.
At our first event in 2009, we were ranked 350th in the world. Come 2013 World Championships, we finished 9th in the world. So that's a huge achievement.
I'd be so happy if we qualified for Rio 2016. My parents and all my family would also be very proud to see us there, especially as it's the women's team. It would be the first time that a beach volleyball team representing Vanuatu had made it to the Olympics, and that would be a real achievement.
Subscribe now to our YouTube channel for the very best of Trans World Sports.